my name is Armand Rodriguez, and this is my student presentation for CIT 336 Backend Development. And we are going to see today the if-else statement. So the if-else statements are control structures. They are conditional statements that are used to perform different actions based on different conditions. Generally, when we are working in backend development, we are going to face situations where we're going to have to decide if we want to execute some code or not, depending on certain conditions. So in these cases, we have to use the if statement. We've already seen a little bit of if and if-else statements in our code within the Acme website. Here is the syntax, basically in PHP. And it's very similar to Java and JavaScript and many other programming languages. So it wasn't very complicated or difficult. It's very similar. So as you can see, we start the normal if statement with the if keyword, and then we have parentheses, and inside those parentheses we have a condition that has to be a Boolean expression. So it has to be equal to true or to false. Then we have curly brackets, and inside those curly brackets we have a block of code that's going to be executed if the condition is true. Then for the if-else statement is exactly the same, but after the closing curly bracket there's an else keyword, and then we can open another pair of curly brackets to write another block of code. And so if the condition turns to be false, then the second block of code is going to run. And this is very convenient because you have more control of the flow of the code, and you can tell the program what to do if the condition is true and what to do if the condition is false. In the first case, if the condition is false, it's only going to skip this block of code, and it's going to continue without doing anything. So thinking and talking a little bit more about the conditions that we have to evaluate in these control structures. As I found in W3 Schools, in this link right here, a table with comparison operators. So these are examples of what you can have inside the parentheses, the condition part. Because this condition has to turn to be true or false, you can do things like compare two variables to see if they are equal, to see if they're identical, to see if these two variables are not equal or not identical, or just to see if it's greater or less than one of the other. And here, for example, this is a small example of the first equal, where we can check what I mean. You have the if keyword, and then you compare to see if variable x and variable y are equal. And if they are, if it turns out to be true, then the block of code gets executed. We can also have inside the parentheses a variable, a Boolean variable, to see if this variable is equal to true or not. So for example, in this second scenario, we have the variable foo, and it's already equal to true. So in this case, the condition is the variable itself, and since it is true, it immediately goes inside this block, and it's going to run the code inside. Here are two examples, practical examples that I've found. This one comes directly from the Acme page. This is a code that we have in our application. You see it starts with the if keyword, and then inside the condition we have another function, a function that's called isSet, that basically receives a variable as a parameter, and it checks if the variable is set. Basically, if it has something. If the variable has something, it's going to return true, and then it goes inside the code, the block, and it runs the code inside. But if the variable message, for example, doesn't have anything, it returns null, then the isSet function is equal to, it's going to return a false, and in that case it's just going to skip this statement. So this is basically what it does. Then in the right side we have just a simple example that I wrote of an if-else statement, just to see. We have a variable called var, and I assigned the number 30 to it, and we can see that if var is less than 20, and it's going to run this code, and if not, it runs this other code. So var is greater than 20, so this one is not going to run, and is going to skip this first block of code, and then it comes into this part and it runs this part. So the result is going to be this part right here. So basically that's it. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask, and maybe we can talk and show more examples. Thank you very much.